welcome to Good Morning Football. We are presented by Audi, live in New York City. Happy April 5th, everybody. My name is Kay. We've got Peter Schrager over here. We've got Nate Burleson over here. And I don't know how else to say this. Unfortunately, Kyle is not here, and you guys can take a look why. Schrags, we're all about cleaning up the game here. What went down?
We're all about cleaning up the game, and as a disciplinary action, Kyle Brandt is going to serve a one-episode suspension for this hit. It was dirty yesterday. It was uncalled for. We're not here for it. We're trying to clean the game up, and we're going to clean our show up.
Yeah, with all the rule changes, Kyle should have known you can't do things like that on national TV. So because of that, unfortunately, he'll be sitting at home. He'll be watching from the sidelines.
That is.
We hope that he returns to the game a better player. Yeah. And he makes better decisions on the field.
What was he thinking, you know? What was he thinking in that moment? Selfish.
Hey, nobody's bigger than this shield on our table right here. And Kyle thought he was, so he'll sit today out.
Let it be a lesson to you. Kyle, lead block.
Lead block.
Lead block. All right, you guys can tweet the show at #GMFB. A full-packed show. Lots of news going on. The top story from yesterday. Take a listen to Giants' new offensive coordinator, Mike Shula, discussing Odell Beckham Jr.'s value to Big Blue.
Again, as we still work through this with Coach Shermer, I think that he's obviously a vital part of our offense. And, you know, when you have guys that can make plays and put points on the board, you want to try to feature them as much as you can. But you also have to realize that, you know, you've got other components and hopefully some more as we move forward into the offseason and the draft that where we can put players on the field and we're not going to be predictable, and if teams want to try to take Odell away, then we've got other answers and good answers.
Are these trade talks dead?
Quieted down.
Okay, not dead.
Sure. Dead until they're alive.
It's been a crazy couple weeks for Odell Beckham Jr., Peter.
It has, and Mike Shula's talking up there, but it gets real crazy on Monday. Will Odell Beckham show up? That is when the off-season training program begins. If Odell Beckham shows up, buys in, says, this guy got Cam Newton to a Super Bowl, I'm all in for this. Pat Shurmur just took his team to the NFC Championship, I'm here. Well, then I'm all in on Cam, and I'm all in on Odell, and I'm all in on everybody. But let's see Monday, because there's a very good chance that the Giants start their season. It officially starts Monday when everyone is up. And Odell Beckham's in L.A., hanging out, doing whatever he's doing.
Right. The trade conversation isn't dead. As long as there's a post on the player, there's going to be a post on this conversation. I will say this, though. Now you're listening to the coaches. You're listening to the front office. You're listening to everybody involved within that organization. Start to backpedal faster than Odell coming off the line of scrimmage. And now they're trying to quiet what they said before. Remember initially when we started talking about everything they were saying, I said it was to me like a parent talking out loud, you know, saying, hey, don't mess up when we get in the store or else we're going to go back home. Don't you touch anything. Right. And now all of a sudden they're trying to backpedal saying, well, I didn't necessarily mean that. I wasn't going to take your video games away. Well, I wasn't going to take your cell phone away. I just wanted you to learn a lesson. Here's my point with that. If you're a player and you're listening to the team talking about what you're doing wrong, how you need to improve on and off the field, that's when the love starts to disappear a little bit. As much as they want to try to send a message to Odell, Odell can easily send a message back louder to his organization. KB, he's on the show and he calls them football Kanye. He jokes around and say Odell's very emotional. This could almost make a player even more emotional. Let me put this in perspective two ways. Cam Newton, when he first got in this league, he was like a little kid at recess. Big smile on his face. Every time he got in the end zone, he was entertaining the masses. Over the last year or so, Cam Newton in front of the media, it's almost like a little bit of the joy is taken. And it's not that he doesn't love the game anymore. It's that he understands the business from a front office perspective, but also from a fan's perspective. They love you, then they hate you, then they love you again. And here's the last part of it. We were sitting in that production meeting this morning, and I was trying to figure out a way to allow people to understand what it feels like when trade talks start. Imagine you at school, if you're a starting quarterback for your squad. Imagine being a teacher. Imagine working in a cubicle, working in finance. Whatever job you have, all of a sudden there's a graphic of you working for the opposition.
So I'm bartending at Nick's Pub in St. Louis, and all of a sudden I'm down at Murphy's. There's like an Instagram. I mean, I worked in Nick's Pub.
Exactly.
I slung those drinks.
Or a place you don't want to go. Like, how would that feel? I know we're in the business of creating news, and now there's so many people that can make a graphic like that. We've seen a picture with Odell in a Rams uniform, a picture with Odell in a Patriots uniform within a week.
His feelings? What are you telling me?
Yes, yes. Like, think about it. You get drafted, and this is how all players think. I will live, I will die, I will bleed, I will cry for this team. And then all of a sudden, these pictures pop up and say, well, he could be a Ram, he could be a Patriot. How do you think that makes Odell
Right,
feel?
does that
He's
humble
not
him?
a victim,
I know.
though. He did, like, what?
Could this also humble him?
It's not about being a victim,
Wait,
though.
could this humble him? Because if he's telling the Giants he wants to be paid quarterback money, and that's what we've heard, if he's saying I'm not gonna take a snap effort, could all of this trade talk say, hey, you're not bigger than the team, pal. We're willing to talk about trades. We just said you're not untouchable. Does he say, hey, let me just go ball out for this one season on my contract, and then become a free agent and do whatever? But like, I'm ready to let me have the best season of my career. Or is this going to be the cantankerous baby that you're protecting here on this one, saying, no, I'm going to take my ball and go home?
Was this a wake-up call?
We'll see. We have to wait and see. But here's the thing. It can go either way. I remember there was a point in my career where the front office was telling me about how many injuries I had and how I'm not worth a certain amount of money, and there's only so many teams that would take me. And I thought to myself, damn, it seemed like yesterday it was all good. Here's the thing. I'm not saying he's bigger than the team, but he's the biggest name on the team. He's the biggest star on the team. He puts butts in the seats, and I get it. He's not a victim by any stretch of the imagination.
Never won a playoff game.
He's put himself. There's a ton of players that got paid. Derek Carr hasn't won a playoff game.
I understand.
There's a whole bunch of players that.
But to say that he's the biggest star.
He is the biggest star on the team. There's no question. He's the rock star. And I'm not calling Odell a victim, but what I am saying, when you go out there and you give everything, regardless of what you want to say about him, he is emotional. And he's emotional because he loves this game. Now, all of a sudden, a woman that you're in love with starts talking about how she's going to jump out of this relationship, and that's what they've been doing this all offseason. Now, a guy that's so invested.
You should have treated her a little bit better, and you knew you had to do.
How much
stay in the
better could he treat her?
relationship.
But aside from crying on the field because he wants to give so much, going out there and literally breaking bones because you love the game so much, and now this team that pulled you off on a stretcher to the sideline and put you in the hospital, they're saying, oh, well, you know what? We're fielding offers. All I'm saying is that could send somebody in their feelings. And Odell, hopefully, from this whole situation, will get paid at some point and be one of the best receivers in the league. But I've seen this before. I've seen the team start talking this talk, and the players say, well, I know you don't love me, so let me get my money and go. And whenever I leave, I'm going to be callous.
Would I show up on Monday? Would you show up on Monday if you weren't paid? If they're not going to extend him, are you, like, I understand you might not miss.
They're not even close right now, is what I'm told. So.
Then I'm showing up when it gets a little bit closer. I totally see Odell's side in that. Coming off an injury, seeing what other guys got paid, I understand him not showing up to start the season with the Giants.
Sammy Watkins, same draft class, just got paid $16 million a year. Odell's going to make about $8 million this year.
And it's not like Odell got a tweak last year. He snapped his leg on the field. Like, listen, we get a bee sting, and as a man, I will start tripping out right now that I'm 36. But when you're in the game, we don't think about that stuff until you get back on the field. And that first day, you're like, I'm on the grass again. I can hear these helmets clacking. I can smell the sweat. I'm a little nervous. That's nerve-wracking, man.
Is it repairable? I know that the Giants haven't publicly said anything negative about Odell Beckham, but even having this out in the news and Maris saying he's untouchable, could it all be kumbaya or has the train already left the station?
It could work perfectly if he gets paid. It can go south if he doesn't. I promise you, if they get to Odell in the offseason, if they allow him to be a free agent and say, hey, when the time is right, season's over, we'll talk about re-upping, Odell's gone. I guarantee you that. I don't know Odell like that, but he will be so far in his feelings. He's like, you guys are waiting until now to get this done? You know how many teams want me? And he'll go get paid somewhere else. So if they want to get this done, telling you, New York Giants, get it done sooner than later.
What do you guys think? Tweet us at #GMFB. Moving on to some other stories around the league. Former first-round pick Johnny Manziel, former Browns quarterback, he's been trending in the right direction, attempting to make a comeback to the NFL. I want you guys to take a listen to what he had to say about his former employers, though, on the Dan Patrick Show yesterday.
If Cleveland did any of their homework, they would have known that I was a guy that didn't come in every day and watch film. I was a guy that didn't really know the X's and O's of football. I played in a spread offense. So when I get to Cleveland, you know, I have a quarterback in the room with me that's not helping me. And it's not really his job too, but nobody was there like helping me go over the X's and O's, and it was hard. I struggled.
Manziel followed up these comments with a tweet saying, at the end of the day, it's nobody else's fault but my own. Work harder, and these questions don't arise. So what do we make of that, gentlemen?
It's so much to unpack, but one, let me commend Johnny on being transparent. Oftentimes, players will front like it's everybody else's fault. He's addressing the fact that it was my fault. Now, let me take you back to that camp. I was there. I remember sitting there and looking around the room, and they would hand out these iPads. And I'm an old school guy, so I wanted my iPad, and I wanted the old school paper so I could write my notes. And I was talking to the coaches. They're saying, Nate, we'll take your iPad home. I was like, no, I want my playbook. Why do you want us to take your iPad home? Because they can actually log in and see how many players are logging in once they leave the facility.
Oh, snap.
So there was rumor that Johnny wasn't logging in once he left the facility. Now, here's the thing. I could see why. I mean, he was courtside with his feet on the court watching LeBron. He was at concerts. He was in Vegas. He was kicking it. He was living the life a former Heisman, now draft pick, is supposed to live. But what I do know is that Johnny's saying they should have known because they studied and they did their research on scouting me. That's false, because if you're leaving college, you can front just like anything. It's the first date. Everybody lies about themselves on the first date, and he's sitting there talking to these teams saying, nah, put it up on the board. I've been practicing this for months. I've been preparing for this moment. So you can fool anybody into thinking that you can study.
Well, he fools them. He fooled us. He fools fans. So now I feel fooled.
Yeah, but listen, he knows that he has another opportunity, and hopefully he'll do better. Michael Vick came out, and Michael Vick is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He said, I had tapes in my car that never left my car. Coaches thought I studied, and I would show up on game day and freestyle. Now, if I look back, I would have been even better than I was as a player.
The issue here is that he's blaming the Browns, saying you guys should have known. And it's an absurd thing to say because, look, I remember the Johnny Manziel pre-draft buildup, and it was a lot of that was out there. He's a partier all the time. Manziel shut it down from like January to April. I remember this because they came to New York and they did all the, and I said to the agent, I said, can I sit down with Johnny Manziel? He's like, no, Johnny is doing no media.
Wow.
He didn't do any media, and he met with these teams, and he was the perfect citizen, and he zipped his coat up, and he had the tie on, and he's got on the board, and he convinced the Browns that he was all ball. So
convinced a few teams.
to then afterwards come back now and say they should have known. Well, no, you were quite an actor during that thing, and you weren't the party boy those 4 months. So buyer beware, sure. But at 22 overall, I don't spite the Browns for taking a quarterback that had all the charisma in the world, who they thought was all ball. Now, he would go on in that interview and later say, once Josh McCown got in the building, I learned from a pro, and it wasn't a competition with Brian Hoyer. It was more of me learning from Josh, and I wish I had more of that.
Right.
Johnny's got no one to blame but himself.
Right.
And he's saying that. So, Peter, he's tweeting that at the end of the day, it's nobody else's fault but my own. Then don't throw Brian Hoyer under the bus or Kyle Shanahan or the Browns organization for taking you. These comments, it isn't even subjective. You're contradicting yourself, Johnny Manziel. So watch what you say going forward. That's my cautionary tale. You're saying he's being transparent. He's blaming Cleveland and then saying there's nobody to blame but me. Those things don't add up.
Here's the thing. He was being honest, though, about Hoyer not helping him. And the thing about it, Hoyer didn't need to help him. Hoyer's trying to go out there and earn the spot, keep the spot. You know, the crowd would chant
Hoyer's
his
out there
name.
trying to do his
and
job.
Hoyer's like, I'm your starting quarterback, and you're chanting Johnny Manziel's name during practice. So he was frustrated as well. I feel like Johnny's just being honest. And as much as I hate what he said, because it is a little bit of him shifting the blame, I like the fact that he's being honest, because I feel like when he first entered the league, it was a front. He was acting like he was supposed to be this quarterback everybody wanted.
Now he is that guy.
Why do you believe him now?
Because he's tightened up his circle and he's cleaned up his life.
He's lost it all,
I
really.
love that.
He's lost it all. I mean, he is playing in the spring league right now. I think there's a real perspective. Him and I think Robert Griffin, if you want to talk about who was signed by the Ravens. I think these guys are different men right now than they were when they were drafted so high in the first round. And sometimes you need to hit rock bottom before you can get back up. I'm rooting for Johnny Manziel, even if these quotes were taken and interpreted a different way. I think he was very vulnerable, and even going on the Dan Patrick Show and talking about his miscues is light years further and more mature than he would have been 2 years ago.
What are your thoughts on Manziel, guys? Hashtag GMFB. Schrager brings up RG3. We'll get to that news as well. He has found a home in the NFL. And Drew Brees, let's talk about a veteran quarterback returning next season with pretty much all of his playmakers intact. Are the Saints the fave, guys, to win the South? That South is vicious.
South is brutal.
Plus, the Cardinals got a glimpse of Sam Bradford this week. Head coach Steve Wilks is instilling a specific mentality well ahead of 2018. Low-key, Wilks is my favorite coach this year.
Denzel.
I like him.
Good Morning Football is presented by Audi.